My name is Frank Tripodi, Artistic Director of Phases Hairdressing. Today we're going to be doing a haircut that we are doing in our salon. This is Julia, my model. How are you, Julia?
Fine, thank you.
Great. So before we start Julia's haircut, we're going to apply a little bit of foam leave-in conditioner by Goldwell. This is just to equal out the porosity of the hair. It gives us a nicer feel through the haircut. Cleaner sections, smoother combing. Also, I'm going to apply just a dab of Goldwell gel. Again, just to keep my sections very clean, my shape very tight. With Julia's haircut today, what we're going to be doing also is we're going to keep quite a classical shape into it. We're going to be blunting it or bobbing it off, whichever you know it best. So we'll be starting in the back of the head, taking a center section right from the front through to the back. Going through, right down to the center of the head, like so. Pushing everything away from the part so we can see a clean line. Taking that right through to the bottom of the hairline. So with the head tilted slightly forward, we're going to be taking horizontal sections right through from the center parting through to the side of the hairline, working through the back. Keeping all the hair very close to the skin, all at 0 degrees with absolutely no tension at all. Taking our line right across. Just checking for balance. So working to our next section, keeping it horizontal. At this point, we are going to be combing all the hair again straight down at 0 degrees, but I'll be using my fingers just to create a little bit of tension to start a slight graduation. Following the line underneath. Just picking it up, checking your guide, following through. Again, making sure that the grains of the hair on both sides are balanced as you're combing it. Very important that when you're combing the hair, if you notice, I'm going into it with my teeth and then lying it flat. Picking up, looking for my guide, cutting across. Following right through. Again, for my guide, working right through. Checking for balance. Carrying on. At this point, this will be our last horizontal for the back area. Take it across, horizontally to the top of the ear. Again, bringing all the hair down to 0 degrees. Making sure everything's worked very cleanly. And again, using my fingers to hold it with a little bit of tension, creating a slight graduation. Down at 0, Pressing it down, picking it up, checking for your guide, cutting across. Working right through from the right side through to the left. I find because I'm right-handed, I like to start at the beginning of my shape, leaving my work behind and working right through to the opposite side. Okay, at this point in my haircut, I'm going to be starting from the crown area, carrying through right through to the top of the recession, dragging everything slightly back at 0 degrees. Just combing it slightly back so we can get a clear view of the recession area. Again, the top, right through to the crown, dragging it all straight down. So what I want to do is just follow through with my shape in the back, quite square. When we're working in the front area, we're dragging this slightly back. You have to take the protrusion of the ear into consideration. So very important that when the hair is combed over the ear, just take the ear into consideration, push the hair, following the contour of the ear. At 0, follow through, aiming for your back shape. Again, just place it close to the neck, following the contour of the ear, down at 0 degrees. I'm using very little tension. Straight down. Checking for a clean line. And continuing up to the center of her head. Or till you run out of hair, whichever comes first. At this point, we run out of hair. We're going to swing around and do the same thing through the left side of her head. Again, from the top of the recession, right through to the crown. Working a very clean section through that area. Pushing everything in the opposite direction. Straight down at 0 degrees. Once again, very little tension. Straight down at 0, following my previous shape. As you work to the ear area, very important, you take into consideration the protrusion of the ear. So when you're lying this down, at 0, using your scissors or your comb, whatever you prefer, just follow the contour of the ear, lie it flat, and follow right through your line. Just laying it down to a natural fall. Clean line. Checking for balance. Following through till we get to the center of the head, or you run out of hair, whichever comes first. So at this point, just going to lie everything down to 0 degrees to see the fall of our haircut. For the interior area, at this point, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be putting away my scissors, and we're going to be using a razor for the interior. The reason for using a razor is to get a very shattered feel. So sort of an uneven texture within our classical line. I want to give it that classical feel, but on the edge. Starting in the crown area, down into the hairline. Taking a center section, basically a panel through the center of the head. Moving all the hair that you're not cutting in the opposite direction of your section to get total focus on the section you are cutting. Working very cleanly. So at this point, what we're going to be doing is going to be cutting this area quite short. I'm going to be working with the shape of the head, leaving about 1.5 inches of weight through my perimeter that has already been created. Before cutting, you should always visualize your line or your shape. So basically, here's my line, here's my shape. With my razor, I will follow the shape of my fingers working through. A very soft, broken feel. Just combing right through, complete the bottom of this section. Again, out at 90 degrees. Leaving about 1.5 inches of weight. At this point, we're going to pivot from the crown until we get in line with the ear. And we'll be doing that to both sides and the back. Pushing the hair that you're not cutting in the opposite direction. Holding this section at 90 degrees. Using your previous section, just pull it slightly forward to the section you're working on. Just pushing it to check for your guide, angling your fingers in the shape that's desired, and following through. Continuing right through to my weight line, which is 1.5 inches. Just breaking that up. You can already see the movement and the softness that the razor is creating. My third section will be dragged slightly back, just to take into consideration the bend of the head in that area. Okay, working through to the other side in the same manner, pivoting from the crown area down to the hairline, following the previous section, dragging it slightly forward to the section that we are working on, following your desired shape underneath it. Just working down through to my 1.5 inches of weight. A clean section. At this point, we come in line with the ear. Always remember what you do to the opposite side. At this point, remembering what we did on the other side, we drag this hair slightly back, following the contour of the head to keep our square line. So we're dragging the hair slightly back to a 45-degree angle. Again, following the desired shape from your previous section. finding your guide, working right through to my 1.5 inches of weight. Now as you're holding this hair, I mean, everything's visual. You should be able to see your 1.5 inches of hair, and there it is. So by the time you get to that area, you should be releasing the razor from the hair. Just working it around to make sure we have a nice balance and weight distribution. So at this point, we're going to be taking a center parting, working down into the hairline, holding the hair all out at 90 degrees. Just going to get a little bit of moisture. Just to keep the moisture balance the same throughout the haircut. So again, working from the center, down, through into the hairline, dragging it slightly back, following your previous shape. Again, making sure that the grains in the hair are all moving in the same direction from your very first section. Again, the reason why I'm dragging this back is to maintain the shape that we've already put in through the side, to keep our square shape in there. And as I work through to the front, I will be dragging it back. Pretty much to the last section behind the ear. Again, just checking, just to get a feel of our shape, how it's working for us. Here we're getting a very shattered, classical shape. At this point, I'll be dragging this slightly back, adding a little bit of moisture. Following your previous shape, using the section behind the ear as your guide, following through to your 1.5 inches of weight. Okay, again at this point, working through the opposite side, we're going to be taking vertical sections, working to the front of the face, dragging everything back to my section behind the ear. Making sure that all the grains of the hair are moving in the same direction, section behind the ear, following my previous shape and working through into my 1.5 inches of weight. Again, as you're dragging this hair back and looking at your hair, you can see the 1.5 inches of weight. You can actually take it out, eliminate it. What's left with is the hair that you're going to be cutting. Work it right through. Again, following through, vertically, dragging it slightly back, taking a subsection from your previous hair, making sure that all the grains are moving in the same manner. Taking it right through, again, to my 1.5 inches of weight. Make sure we have a balance of weight distribution. Just following through, right through to the front, again dragging this back. dragging it back to the section behind the ear, following your previous shape. Basically, you're working until either you run out of hair or you get to the hairline in the front area. At this point, I believe our connection is done through pieces through the bottom. Just working it down. Getting a visual balance. So Julia's bangs, she had mentioned to me that she'd like to grow them out. So basically what we've done is we connected our interior shape to her bang. So just to add a little bit of personalizing to my haircut, basically I'm going to take it in the same manner that I cut it, just that I'll be pulling it all straight out at 90 degrees as opposed to dragging this back and just slicing a few pieces in through my shape, just by using the tips of the razor to eliminate a little bit more weight. Like so. I'm going to work this right through the whole haircut. Again, taking a vertical section, holding it out at 90 degrees, using the point of my razor, texturizing from mid-shaft through to the ends, just to break up our shape a little more. Carrying through with vertical sections, holding it all out at 90 degrees, using the points of the razors, going from mid-shaft through to the ends, working right down into her hairline. Like I mentioned earlier, if you like, you can be using your scissors to create this texture, whatever your preference is. Clean section, bring it out to 90, texturizing from mid-shaft to the ends, and that right through into the hairline. Holding out at 90, mid-shaft to ends. Just breaking up our perimeter shape with it. Again, getting to the center of the head and the back, holding this all straight out, 90 degrees, going in from mid-shaft through to the ends. The idea is to go in, catch, texturize, leave a strand, catch, texturize, continue right through to the bottom of the hairline, working right around the other side of the head, out at 90, mid-shaft to ends. So working quite nicely for us. She can have this nice and spiky and textured. She can wear it quite flat, closer to the head. Holding right through from the crown down into the hairline, vertical section, out at 90 degrees. Just checking for balance as well. Carrying that right through to the side. Working very cleanly. Again, going into it, working from mid-shaft to ends. Depending on the area that you're working in, determines where your mid-shaft is. When the hair is longer, then figure halfway into that section is the mid-shaft. Because you are working from a shorter to a longer piece, just take half of the area that you're working in into the ends. Following that right through to the front, vertically, straight out at 90. Again, mid-shaft to ends. At this point, we've reached our last section. Again, straight out at 90, going from mid-shaft through to the ends.